Okay, so let's continue on the main influences on operations manager. This influence is called cost-based competition, and it will have a critical impact on the operations manager because to remain competitive in the marketplace, businesses may reduce prices to get an advantage over their competitors. And we see this a lot in our lives, that two businesses are competing against each other on cost to attract our attention. Businesses determine their break-even point and then determine a competitive price. What does break-even point mean? I buy my inputs and then I transform them into an output. Break-even point is once I've paid all my costs for the inputs, the labour, the machinery, that's when I start to make a profit. So we call that the break-even point. This has a significant influence on the operations function because it will impact on where I source my materials from. If I'm trying to produce my product at the cheapest price, I need to buy my inputs cheaply. My labour. Businesses are constantly trying to reduce the level of labour they have because labour is expensive. And that's why we have seen self-servicing, for example, because you don't need labour with self-servicing. Technology. Technology has taken over the place of humans. In the past, in a car manufacturing plant, you would have seen hundreds and hundreds of workers and engineers making cars. When you go into a car manufacturing plant these days, you actually won't see many humans. You'll mostly see machines making those cars. So how do businesses reduce their costs? They have to eliminate waste. Waste is costly. Waste includes mistakes made on the factory floor. So operations manager needs to analyse that operations process and make sure that they don't have mistakes. They produce standardised products. Now you can see here in the picture, Coca-Cola. You can see hundreds and thousands of bottles of Coke. When I do that, I'm going to cut costs because it's cheaper and it's easier. And for that reason, I'm going to produce high volume output. I buy bulk inputs. What does that mean? When I buy in bulk, instead of buying 10 pencils, I buy 50,000 pencils. I'm going to pay a lot less per pencil if I buy in bulk. Use automated production systems. What that means is that I'm using technology to produce my products. Now let's have a look at the airline industries. The airline industry is a very, very competitive market. They have to find ways to reduce their costs to compete with each other. They're all competing against each other because they've got to attract consumers to a low price, no frills product. Now, if we think of the case study of Tiger Air versus Virgin Australia, they're both producing the same product, which is a service, which is a no frills air service. Virgin Airlines, Jetstar and Tiger are all in there trying to attract us to their product. The operations functions for each airline must closely analyse the actions of their competitors. Now, how do they do that? First of all, they have to keep an eye on sales. Is the other airline having a sale? Or has the other airline developed a new route around Australia or around the world? If so, how can we either copy that or come up with something new so that the consumer will choose us over their competitor? Now, Virgin have spent a lot of money on their image. So that includes, when you get onto the aeroplane, the magazines, what the air hostess wear, their marketing. Whereas Tiger Air have tried to reduce their costs with that, and they've been able to reduce the cost per air flight. So that there ends the lesson on that influence, which is cost-based competition. See you next time.